Good morning, everyone. All right, the last video I recorded discussing goals and financial goals was February the 21st, 2023. We're now in May 2026, the 27th of May. What a few years it has been. Um, I wanted to record this video because I've now hit a new financial goal, and I'm not doing it again to flex or brag in the slightest. It's now about documenting the journey because, wow, the last few years have been very difficult, but also very rewarding. And I've learned so much stuff that this channel that I'm now going to record and post it to, I kind of wanted to be like my business channel to discuss the journeys, the trials, and the tribulations of business and what I've learned throughout my journey. So, for those of you that maybe this is one of the first videos, my name is Archie Cade. I'm now 24 years old. I own two businesses, the same two businesses when I recorded my last video discussing how I hit $100,000 liquid cash by the age of 20. Now I'm going to be talking about how I've hit and made $500,000 liquid cash by the age of 24. Where do we start? Basically, I wrote a few questions and notes down just so I don't deviate too much. I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of getting to $500,000. The lessons that I've learned from back when I was doing, three tips and three things of making $100,000, because to get to $100,000 is a very, very different kettle of fish to hitting $500,000. The same goes for making your first thousand versus your first 10,000. And the same goes for hitting your first 50,000 to your first 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. At least that was the case for me. And what I wrote down here is I've seen online a lot of people saying you almost need to lose your first 100,000 on your journey to your first million. And that is certainly the case for me. And it certainly was the case for me. When I got to about 220,000, I lost nearly everything in the process. I got to 220,000 and the back end of 2024, the final quarter of 2024, financially, my overall, um, you know, assets and liquid cash, as you want to put it, were 220,000. And then I went down to about 50,000, 40, 50, 60,000 thereabouts. And that was very difficult, very, very difficult. The long and short of it is that I was a little bit too ambitious. I wasn't humble enough in what I'd achieved so far. Some bad people and bad actors came into my circle and into my business and kind of promised me the world, promised me that we could achieve more and better and bigger. I believed it. I was blinded by it. I followed it blindly. And I kind of deviated from what had made me money and made the businesses successful to begin with. And I nearly lost everything in the process. I was told to invest in this, invest in that. And yeah, I spent $45,000, for instance, in a marketing agency. The marketing agency never delivered anything, genuinely nothing. No sales, no results. I also spent $100,000, and this wasn't in one go, like sitting, by the way. Same with the marketing agency. It was across a few payments. So it's not as though I just wired money and got burnt. I wired money. The results didn't come, but I was promised if we did a bit more, we would get this, then a bit more. You get the idea. And it was the same with where I spent over $100,000. I think it was $120,000 um, in technology. So I spent 100,000 plus in technology and almost got ruined in that process. So it's not all, this video again, as I've said, is not to like brag and it's not to go, oh, how amazing my life is now because I'm financially in the best position I've ever been in. It's, yeah, there was some pretty difficult and hard lessons to learn along the way. And I'd never experienced like this level of stress and intensity back when I was 20 and made my first 100,000. So almost hitting 100,000 was an amazing eye opener that, well, I could do this full time. I could make money online. I don't have to go and get a job, a 9 to 5. But at the same time, I had not experienced downfall quite the same way before. And so to start off this this video, I guess we talk about the negatives before we talk about the positives, because otherwise it just sounds like I'm, like I said in my last video, sounds like I'm at my own arse and I'm just way too confident in what we've achieved. But we've done phenomenally well over this last few years. There is no doubt about that. It's been very, very difficult. I, as I've just said, have been burnt and nearly stripped back to nothing and had to start again. But since that moment, I basically cut all cord and ties with bad actors and bad people within my business. And I said to myself, I've done it before and I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to completely rebuild from the ground up. And yeah, here we are today, doing extremely well. And I'm very proud of where we've come, personally within myself, financially, what I've achieved, and also the people that now that I've got around me and brought with me. So here we are. How we made $500,000 by the time, um, you know, nearly turning 25, but I am 24. So lesson number one that I really learned was the team. I have the same businesses that I had, but getting to $100,000, I basically did everything. I was the entrepreneur myself, and I had people that were potentially just part-time. Most people were just part-time. They were getting paid minimal amounts of money to work part-time, and that really helped to begin with because it meant that I could keep the cash and I could have the cash growing. And ultimately, that's what's important. You can't pay people full-time salaries if you haven't yet got an established business. But the difference between 100,000 and 500,000, despite the fact that I went financially like this and then back down and then back up, is that on my way back up, I built a team. I built a team to do all of the tasks that I couldn't do or that I needed someone better in. So that, for instance, is technology. After having been burnt by my technology, people that had done my technology and doing my technology before, I brought someone in-house that I knew that I could trust, and he completely built the technology from the ground up. And I did invest, my last little bit of, out of the 50, 60,000 that I had, I invested a good chunk of that back into almost, the technology to go again. But this time I knew what to do. And I was also just having it was on my own back this time. I wasn't reliant on so many people. It was just one person to get the job done. And we got it done. We got up to the level that it needed to be so that we could continue with business. So I employed people that were better than me in the areas that I couldn't do. I have my forte, I have my skills with certain things, and I'll discover that and describe that later. But there are people that are much better than me, and you've got to realize that yourself, that there are people that are better than you. You need to bring them on board and incentivize them to work with you, whether that's monetary, whether that's vision, whether they want to be a part of something, new or bigger. There's a whole host of reasons for why people might want to work with you. But yes, I brought on some really cracking people and people that are local to me as well, so I can meet up with them face to face in person. And that's just completely changed the trajectory of business. So that's one of the really strong points. The next point that I wrote down here is sticking with the same thing. I'm 24, so I haven't had a long time in business. I first started when I was 18, but I wasn't doing business back then. I was just trialing things, messing around, compared to what I'm doing now. And I jumped between quite a few different things to begin with, and then eventually stuck with trading. I learned how to trade and I started to become quite good at it. Trading myself on my own personal small accounts. And I realized that there was, more that I could do in a business sense. And that's where I grew the business that I now have, which is the prop trading firm and trading platform, um, which has now flourished into what it is today. Because I saw a gap in the market, I knew that I could execute it better, and I saw the money potential as well. So I basically went all in and I have stuck with it since. There have been times, especially when I started to lose out financially, that I really wanted to pack it in, but I didn't, and I never was going to because I knew that I could build back up. And I also knew that, this is my passion, this is my joy. It's the thing that I've engrossed myself in. I literally was looking at the trading charts every single day from the age of 18 till now. I always check the markets and I was engrossed in it. I really enjoyed it all throughout my time at university. I traded. It's how I made money, but it's also how I met people online. And some of those people now are employees of the business. So it's really, really phenomenal, but stick with the same thing. If you get the smallest glimmer of success, stick with it. Don't change because I could have changed, started a new industry, the shiny object, the lady in the red dress, as they say. You think, oh, maybe that opportunity would be better. Often it's not. There are always issues with every industry. And that's what I've learned having listened to podcasts, speak to people on a daily basis, is that the skill sets that I've learned to get my business to the level that it is now means that I could jump onto another industry and probably get to a certain level again pretty quickly. And I would feel good about that because I think, oh, this is maybe better. Then you reach a ceiling and you realize this is actually harder than it looks, and it's always harder. And I've got to learn new skills, meet new people to get to the next level. And I also think about this as well. When you're building, you meet people. You meet people within this niche and industry. I am still working with, speaking to, earning money from, and with people that I met in 2020, 2021, back in the pandemic. I'm still meeting people from then, again, and speaking to them. And we're joking about the times that we were, traders to begin with. There's this one guy that I literally spoke to yesterday. He's a guy from India. We knew each other when we first begun. He remembers and recalls everything, and so do I. And we reminisced about it yesterday on a call because we're both in completely different financial positions now. He's actually bought himself a Porsche, and so have I. So we both were reminiscing, and because we got the same car now, we were going, remember when we started? Remember when we started and we were both, pretty much just starting out. We didn't have much money. We were learning this game and this industry and trying to be as frugal as possible and smart as possible. And yeah, we were talking about it because you look back on those times really fondly, going, yeah, I started, and this is to slightly deviate, I started my business and this with about £500 in savings back in 2020. I didn't take a single penny from friends, family, parents, anything like that. From then till now, I haven't had any support financially, business directed. And that's really been big. I can say that everything that I've built, cash, liquidity inside that bank is built for myself only. So, yeah, really, it's nice to look back and go, we've come such a long way, but stick with the same thing. Because if you change things, you lose those connections of that industry. You don't lose them, but you can't utilize them. Whereas now, the guy from India that I spoke to yesterday, we're doing business together now. We're doing business together. And he's helping me generate a few thousand a week, in cash because of that, which is huge. So it's because we trust each other and we've been in the game for long enough now that we know each other well. And you realize, well, there's not so many people you can trust, especially when it comes to money related industries. You got to stick with people that you can trust. And it's very difficult to do so because we're talking about money here. So, anyways, Stick with the same thing if you can, because if you get successful at it, it's easier to get more success. What I said to people is if you can sell something once, you can then learn how to sell it 5 times and then 10 times. And if you can sell something 50 times, you can then automate it, systemize it, bring in people around you to help do the same thing with anything, any industry, any service. If you can sell it once and there's a market for it, you can sell it again and again and again. And if it works and it's profitable, do not change it. Just double down on it. Stick with it because you're going to get better week by week, day by day, and month by month. So stick with it. What I wrote down here is that we're now in a position where we've sold the same thing over 1,000 times for reference. So we're in the same business, we're in the same line of industry. And since I last made my last video, which was how to make $100,000 or 3 things I learned making $100,000 by the age of 20, having 100,000 cash liquidity by 20 was epic. Genuinely, I felt like the richest guy alive. Because at university, everyone had no money. So to have 100,000 in university was phenomenal. But we've sold the same thing now 1,000 times over. And yes, you know, we've got more costs, we've got more everything like that, but we've sold the same thing over and over again, and we've systemized it. And so now half of the workload is automated. The next thing I wrote about for what I've used and utilized between $100,000 and $500,000 is vision boards. I really like visualizing. And I learned this from a guy called Charlie Morgan on YouTube. So all credit to him. But I have a Google Doc called Self Transcendence. And I heard him talk about it on YouTube one day, saying, write down the things that you want, take photos of the things that you want, screenshots from YouTube, Google, put them into a Google Docs, and this is what you're going to be aiming for. And once your mind and your body and your goals and your vision are aligned, I genuinely believe it helps massively because then it's like a tick box exercise. You're like at school again, where you go, this is what I want to achieve today. Done and tick. I've slightly tweaked what Charlie Morgan made into like levels, and this just suits me. I've almost made it like levels for my own character and personal development. So I have a Google Doc, and maybe one day I will share it, but I'm not going to share it now. Is that my level one was hitting $100,000 liquid cash and a variety of other things, hitting certain monthly revenue targets within my businesses, um, other personal things as well, fitness goals, sports teams. I wanted to get my degree within university, which I did. I wanted to get my car, which was the Porsche, which I did. And I also wanted to travel. I wanted to spend 3+ months traveling between Airbnbs, which I had as a photo, which I did. So that was like my level one character. And I literally have it, level one. And I also have the date that I did and completed level one, which was the date I bought the Porsche. And that was the final piece of the puzzle. And when I did that, psychologically, I was like, I felt really good. And I knew that it was only up from here. So what I then created was a level two character, which I'm still ticking off some of the lists and things on there now, but they are a better car. They are more financially and financially better off. So it's the $500,000 liquidity in cash. It's further fitness goals and it's also further life goals, not just materialistic things, but life goals. So I have all these things written down, and maybe some people go, "Oh, it's a bit gimmicky," but for me, it's really worked. I then basically have like a tick box exercise. These are the things that I want to achieve within this level two, and then I'll go on to level three, which will most likely be to hit £1 million liquid cash, to have £1 million. not just in assets, not just in stocks. I'm talking cash, cash in the bank that's earned off of my own back, not inherited or given. So that is sort of how I've structured it. And visualizing, if you haven't tried it, give it a shot. That's all I will say. Because for me to go from 100,000 to 500,000, I basically saw what I needed to do. I have the new monthly revenue targets. I have what I need to do within my business. One of them being I wanted to employ people. I wanted to have my first full-time employee, someone working with me, committed to the same project that I have 100%, not just part time, 100%. And the difference that I've noticed when people are 100% all in is phenomenal. It's such an amazing difference. Kyle. Kyle is the first full time employee that I ever had. He was doing part time work with me for a long time, and he's someone that I knew since 2020, someone that I used to trade with back when we were 18. We first got into the industry, very similar timings, and we met each other online. And from there forward, he's always been with me. He then went and got a full-time job. His full-time job then turned around to him and said, we need to change the contracts and the hours. That then meant that he couldn't get the same pay. And so we then had the decision and the conversation between ourselves of, is this the right time to go full-time and pay him the equivalent for being full-time with me on the businesses? And to be honest, I was not ready for it. I didn't want to do it particularly, because I've never had that much financial responsibility before of someone else. But financially, in terms of the bank accounts, we were able to do it. And I don't know why I didn't do it sooner, looking back, because it's helped so much. He is earning for the business more than he costs. So it's massively beneficial for the business. And also, he's able to focus 100%. And I mean, for him now, the benefit and the luxury and the lifestyle of being at home and not having to commute and not having to do a terrible shit 9 to 5 job. So visualizing is huge. And for me, at least, visualizing has helped me get to the next level for sure. I won't disclose which car I have on there next, but I have another car and that is going to be pending and coming through soon. I've got a few options basically, so I won't say them now, but I know, I'll say them now. I want to get a McLaren 570 or a Porsche 911 or an Aston Martin Vantage or an Audi R8. It's between the four. It's the next level up from the Porsche that I have currently. And these cars, each of them are 80,000 to 100,000 in cash. There's always the choice and the option to finance these things, but I'd rather probably just do it outright if I can, because otherwise I think you fall into lifestyle creep, in inflation of just more monthlies. But yes, that's the next goal, and I've had that on there. I want to have a better car to make me feel like I've achieved something. And like for me, I love cars, but also it's like a financial goal and achievement. It's like you are upgrading everything within your life then, upgrading character. And if you upgrade cars, it almost is like you're unlocking the next level. So for me, it's really, really fun. And I've sort of gamified it that cars is what I will base the business success off of. And eventually, I think later down the line, when I hit 35, 40, I'll probably just strip it back and just get something that's reliable, sturdy, and family orientated. But for now, I can have fun. But I have a lot of other goals on there. I want to do certain things and need to get to certain milestones before I can do that. And before I get the car, I also have certain other things to tick a box. So I'm not able to get the car, even though I could afford it right now. I could have afforded it for a long time. I'm holding off until I've reached other tick boxes. And they're not financial tick boxes, they're like business tick boxes. So yeah, I think always just being responsible. And I think that's the next thing that I was speaking about was, and I wrote down, and it's actually tied up very nicely, is I've been very diligent in spending. Spending, you can go and spend a shed load of money each month. So 100,000, dollar month for business plus, you could easily take home and spend, let's say 10,000. but it would be a bit irresponsible when it could be invested back into the business to make it better. People inflate their lives far too quickly. And I would say I feel the most financially responsible right now that I've ever felt because I've got years worth of living expenses covered. I could live the same way that I live right now for years, years, never have to worry about amending business, changing things, getting people, reducing people's payroll, removing people from payroll, closing business because I've got an expensive car on finance and I've got an expensive penthouse apartment for let's say 3, 4 grand a month. I could do that. Could do it right now. But within my heart of heart, I know that once you start doing that, you never stop. And because it kind of fuels your ego. And yeah, I do want to enjoy some more fruits of my labor. But I also feel like waiting for them makes them feel even better. It's like the Porsche. I could have bought my first Porsche earlier than I did. I bought it when I was 21, I think. It was either 20 or 21 is when I bought the Porsche, which I was very proud of. But I could have done it 20 or 19 when I'd made my first little bit of money. I could have just spent it all on the car. And the thing that I look back on now, though, is I just say to myself, I say, I'm pleased that I did do that because I could have just been even more frugal and never rewarded myself. But the amount of sort of like boost in mindset that car has given me is unmatched. Go and get yourself a car if you haven't. Is my advice. Go and get yourself a car because I don't need to upgrade instantly now. I'm not like urging for it. But I know that when I get the next level of car, the McLaren, the 911, the Audi R8, or the Vantage, I know that my mindset will be opened up even further. The connections that I will get from having those cars will be even further because not many people are 24, 25 that pull up in one of those cars. Exactly. So people will want to speak to you. People will want to know what you're doing. People will want to know how business is. And people will want to connect with you and probably do business with you too. So that's where I'm thinking the next level is. That's why I think cars are so good because they are status symbols. They speak before you do. They let other people know that you're doing well. And if you are in a position where you've got so much liquidity and cash that you've already, let's say, sorted your house, you've already sorted an emergency fund, you've already sorted your stocks and shares ISAs, for instance, then if you've got extra cash, go and get yourself a car. But I've been very diligent in spending. I could have already got a car on finance, something even more flair, even more special. The newer McLarens, a Ferrari, maybe even. But I've seen other people do this. I've seen other people within my space do it. And I just feel like once you start doing it, you never want to stop. And it is a drain on your bank balance rather than an asset. So I believe the difference between 100,000 and 500,000 is for me to get to this point in such short period of time. I've actually been very diligent in spending. I've only reinvested into my business. It's the most important thing because it's the life and blood of what I care about and what I want to do and achieve. I care more about achieving business success than I do about achieving anything else, really. It is the most important thing to me is making the business the best. I want to be number one within my industry, and I'm working as hard as I can to do so. So there you go. I've been very diligent and I've just been patient and building is what I've put down. You know, I still have things to complete on this level two character of mine. I want to get, for instance, and it's shallow, but I want to get a personalized number plate, for instance. I mean, you know what I mean? There are things on there to complete and to do, to have a bit of fun, to have a bit of flair, to enjoy, but you got to eke them out because if you eke them out, you enjoy them. The next thing that I put is I've taken my fitness and my nutrition to the next level. That I believe has been a really core fundamental to getting from 100,000 to 500,000 and also my sleep. I've always been into my fitness. I've always gone to the gym and I've always worked out. However, when I was going through the harder times in business, this was 2024 year, I didn't slack off because I still went to the gym. But nutrition wise, I was not on the ball. And again, I'm talking lightly, but I put on an extra few kg. I was eating more junk food. I wasn't thinking so clean and clear with business. And maybe that was a whole multitude of reasons. A large part of that is financially, I was getting drained and I was struggling. So I didn't prioritize those things because you kind of can only prioritize those things once you have a clear mind and you're financially free and you don't have loads of debt and you don't have loads of bad, shitty decisions to make. But I've locked into the next level. Back when I was 18, I was in phenomenal shape, and university, we were all drinking and having fun. And that naturally takes a toll on your fitness and your health. But when I went traveling, I had great fun, but business was struggling. And after that, business was struggling. So I really had to pull myself out of that gutter back when I came back and say, we're eating phenomenally clean. Like I'm an all or nothing type of guy. Um, I can't really sit in the middle, just like semi-healthy. Doesn't work for me. I have to be extreme. So fitness for me, I've taken to the next level for the last few years, and I've got in one of the best shapes I've been in for a while. And it's because my nutrition has been on the same point. I've just eaten the same things most days. Lunches I eat the same thing, and dinner I vary it up. And breakfast I don't because I intermittent fast in the morning. So I have a coffee. I then eat my first meal at 2 o'clock, and it's lunch, and it's the same lunch every day. It's meat and protein. And then for dinner, we vary it up. Every dinner we have different things. Sometimes we have a pizza to enjoy ourselves, and then sometimes it's fish, it's meat, it's veggie, whatever it is. But dinners we vary up. The point is, though, my nutrition has been on point relative, and my fitness has been on point relative. Running, I'm running a lot more. Fitness, I always have and always will do lift weights. It's one of my strongest points. To push weight every day makes you feel phenomenal, it makes you feel good. But I correlate massively. If you eat clean, you sleep well, you hydrate yourself with water, and you don't intoxicate yourself with alcohol. That's another thing that I've massively cut out on is alcohol. Yeah, at university we were drinking 3, 4 times a week. It just was what it was. Now I'm drinking once every third week. Once every third week, and it's for one day, and it's for an enjoyment. Typically, it's for meeting up with friends, or having a family do or something like that. It's once every 3 weeks. That's it. So, we're talking a handful of times a month, and my skin is better, my body is better, my nutrition in general has been on point, my sleep as a result of it has been better. And I put a large part of success down to having those basics on point. It just helps. So it's something to keep in mind as well. Get your nutrition in order, and things naturally are going to get better. The next thing that I put down, and one of my penultimate points, is how important partnerships are in business. Just like employees and people within your team, having a solid, amazing team, but also having people outside of your business, partnerships within your business, people that have mutual interest and synergy with your business is huge. It's been actually one of the biggest levers and accelerating factors in my wealth and in the business's prosperity. We've worked with 50 plus partners now, people that are referring business to us because they like what we do, they like our service, and they like our product. That has transformed the way at which business works because we now have a lower customer acquisition cost. We don't have to spend so much on paid advertisement and marketing. And we now have really strong partners to the point where we have business every day from the same people. And the reason for that is they also benefit, whether they earn commissions from that, whether they also, it complements their business massively. We've worked together now with some phenomenal people, and they have also helped bring in tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars in revenue monthly to us. The next thing that I put down is adding on from the partnerships and the team is employ the best people you can, employ A players. Because for instance, with us, I've now employed the same people that are doing the paid advertisement for some of the top brands for us. So they're now working with us. And the amount of years worth of experience they just accelerate you on, it's phenomenal. It's the same that I talked about previously, is that I have spent a lot of money on education, a lot of money on education. Back when I was 20, when I made my first 100,000, I spent nearly as much as I did on the Porsche on a consulting course. And I remember when I spoke to my parents about it, I still do speak to my parents about it. They think it's crazy how much I spent. Um, I spent over 12,000 on a course, on a single course from a guy called Bastian Sloth. Bastian Slot, sorry. Sloth? Slot. Really nice guy. He helped me a lot. And I learned some amazing skill sets. I learned how to book calls, conduct sales meetings, and convince people to believe in the products that we had and to sell them, and to learn how the payment processing works, and to learn how onboarding works, and to learn how to build a product that's worth a high ticket price point. And that ultimately is what helped me get to $100,000 the quickest. We now run a slightly different business, which is more low ticket and more of a SaaS product, if you want to put it as that. Um, it's more software and service-based stuff. Compared, as a trading platform, it's very, very different to a high ticket program. But I know that if anything ever went south, I could revert back to the skill sets that I have and I've learned. And it's accelerated my earnings potential and how I've earned money quicker, faster, and better. So invest in yourself, invest in the best people you possibly can, will accelerate your business massively. So the next thing I had is, yeah, since that video, we've hit our first $50,000 monthly revenue goal. We hit our first $75,000 monthly revenue. So we brought in $75,000 in monthly revenue. We've done 100,000 and we've also done 125,000 in monthly revenue. I mean, in total, amongst all business and everything, in 1 month, I've done $150,000 now. We made $150,000 in 1 month. 1 month. Made six figures, not in a year, in a month. So it's truly remarkable what the team and I have managed to achieve. You know, in 2020, so what, 5, 6 years ago now, I had £500 in my bank account, my Halifax bank account, £500. 6 years later, we now have 500,000 across all business, assets, and everything in total. It's just, yeah, it's surpassed that. You know, I think working with the best people in your niche that have done what you want to do before, paying them the right amount for it, giving them a vision of what you have, and working with business partners and other businesses that are closely correlated to what you want to do has just shot us through the moon. And hopefully, I don't lose another 100,000 in the process of reaching a million. Hopefully, I don't. I'm trying my best not to, but I'm going to continuously reinvest and do as much as I can to build to the next level, 750,000 and a million. You know, the final point that I had here is it's one thing making $100,000, $500,000 and a million, and it's another thing keeping it. When I was 20, I had 100,000 cash. I probably made 250, 300,000 by that point, but you'd spent it on expenses, marketing, courses. You know what I mean? You've spent it along the journey as well. And it's the same with 500,000. I've now got 500,000. I've made over 3 million now in terms of revenue, but keeping 500,000, so it's harder to keep something along the journey. And I've also lost money. I think when you get to the highest point that you've ever got to financially, it's quite hard to hold on to things because you're trying to constantly reinvest and thinking, let's do the smart thing and keep pushing. But at the same time, you're like, no, let's keep on to the cash as well because let's not just fritter it away. So yeah, after all the costs, staff, team, expenses, and you know, lifestyle, I guess, which is what a lot of people fall into. Keeping 500,000 and half a mil really is an awesome financial goal that I've hit. And I just wanted to make a quick video. I mean, it hasn't been such a quick video now, has it? But I wanted to make a video on how I've managed to do it. And it will be one for the archives many, many years down the line that maybe I'll look back on and go, yeah, that was a good milestone to have hit. I'm pleased that I did it. And yeah, on this business channel, I will also have how I made my first 100,000. So here we go. Here's half a mil. This is level two of the character. Um, and I look forward to hitting level three, a million, and pushing on beyond that, and cars and everything in the process of it, enjoying it, um, enjoying this, this wealth, but also having fun with it, giving back to people where I can, buying things for people and looking after people is another thing that I want to do more and more of. So there we go. That's the video. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you've learned something from it and you can take something from it. And until the next one.